Here we go. It's time. It's time once again where we all join hands together here on YouTube and celebrate the GOAT games, picking up another giant stack of retro video games. Look at this tower of PS2 games. This is pretty crazy. The PS3 stack of games is nuts as well. But man, this is a really awesome pickup this time around. A lot of box Genesis games, PS1 games, all sorts of stuff, which I'm going to show off here. We're going to start with the PlayStation 1 stuff because I'm a fan of the PlayStation 1. And it's got games like Resident Evil here. You're dead scared. Perfect. I love the box art of the original Resident Evil. It looked kind of goofy there. Dragon Ball Z Ultimate Battle 22. But yeah, I love this PlayStation 1. PS1 for me will always be a landmark system, much like the N64. It's when the industry as a whole was starting to embrace 3D graphics, but we didn't quite know what we were doing yet. And we didn't have a lot of the standards set in place, like dual analog controls and stuff like that. And it's a lot of very imaginative games and a lot of weird, ambitious games. And there's a lot of bad games too. Rest assured, the PS1 and 64 generation gave us a bunch of really bad games. But when I look back on the era of PS1 and 64, Sega Saturn, it always strikes me as a generation when developers were really trying to push the industry forward. Everyone was so excited about the 3D graphics that we had, but at the same time, CDs were they didn't hold as much space as we needed them to hold. The processing power of the systems themselves weren't necessarily there, so it created a lot of constraints that developers had to work with. But yeah, that was a good stack of PlayStation 1 games. But how about another good stack of PlayStation 1 games? Like Final Fantasy IX here. Final Fantasy IX is great. I actually played Final Fantasy IX with my older brother because it has 2-player co-op. That's one thing I wish these Final Fantasies would bring back is the local multiplayer. In Final Fantasy III for the Super Nintendo, you could assign characters to 1 or 2 player. And I actually played Final Fantasy 3 or Final Fantasy 6, whatever you want to call it. I played it that way. Oh, here we go. Silent Hill for the PlayStation 1. Yeah, pause and stare in awe of this PS1 gem here. Very expensive, the black label. And then it's ruined, of course, by this MTV Music Generation crap. I don't know what this is. That's what I'm talking about. That's what the PlayStation 1 is. MTV decided, you know what? Let's put out something weird for the PlayStation 1. We're going to move on to the N64 games. Perfect Dark. Very, very underrated game. And here's Vigilante 8. Here's a game I like. If you like Twisted Metal, you need to play Vigilante 8. Because it's pretty much just as amazing, if not better, I'd say. I like there's this really fat old guy named Beeswax in Vigilante 8 you can play as. And apparently his story is that the government performed some sort of experimentation on his bees. So now he is some sort of anti-government terrorist. Good stuff. That's good storytelling on the N64 there with Beeswax. Oh boy, I dropped the Nintendo games. As to be expected. All right. Duck Hunt. It's whatever. Jeopardy. Okay. Rad Racer. Oh, this seems pretty cool. I've never played Rad Racer. A lot of NES games I haven't played. But I know there's some big NES fans here. Like Adventure Island. I mean, this NES game has a skateboarding... a skateboarding Neanderthal, I believe. A skateboarding caveman. There's the Super Mario Bros. 3. Classic art style on there. NES is a little bit too old for my for my times. I did play a little bit of it when I was a kid, but I can't really remember too much of it. But I have played some Nintendo games, especially now that I work here at the Go Games. Nintendo games hold up pretty well. The original Nintendo games, they kind of knew what they were doing when it came to 2D games. They made a lot of good 2D action platformer stuff like this. Look at this face, though. What is that? It's like some space wizard just contemplating why he's on a Nintendo case. All right, whatever. Super Nintendo Complete in Box games. This is really cool to get in. Like Super Empire Strikes Back. Man, look at that box art. That's just beautiful right there. Man, it's so rare to get these old boxes in. And I'm actually kind of surprised at the prices of some of them. Some of them are way cheaper than I thought they would be. Like Super Empire Strikes Back here. Maybe I forget if I show off the price sticker or not. It's a little messed up on the back there, but great game. Awesome box. And, you know, they won't make boxes like this ever again. We will never go back to video game packaging like this ever again. And this is $50. Get the game and the box for less than what a brand new game would cost. That's something else. And Super Star Wars, I don't know what it retailed for. Retail prices back then were all over the place. I mean, games could cost $100 back during the Super Nintendo era. Sometimes it would cost $40. So to see it around that price after all this time is very interesting for this kind of stuff. So if you ever think about getting these original boxes, this is Jurassic Park here for the Super Nintendo. Looks pretty fun. Look at that, though. No polygons or two-dimensional sprites here. Ocean's exclusive real 3D graphics will have you screaming for more. They are saying there's no two-dimensional sprites, while the very next picture next to it is, in fact, a 2D sprite. Video game advertising, I swear to God. Why is video game advertising so awful? I don't understand. But back to what I was saying. Some of these games are pretty decent and surprisingly affordable. I don't know what to say. If you're ever thinking about collecting, man, seeing a game that is fun with the original box for like $50, $60. I mean, you got to think these are games that are like 30 years old, and I doubt there's very many of these boxes still out there and intact. It's getting harder and harder to see. But there are, you know, games like this one, Death and Return of Superman, which are considerably more expensive. I don't know. I don't try to figure it out too much. The markets, I don't know. Really, it's some games like Earthbound, I guess, make sense why they're so expensive. They're so sought after. But enough about all that. This is a pretty fun game. Awesome art. Pretty decent box, too. What else we got here? Do we got more? Oh, yeah, this one's really cool. Todd McFarlane's Spawn. I mean, look at this. Dude, just look at this box art. It's so cool. Games look so lame on the little cases that we get now. I don't know what to tell you, man. It's like, come on, you see this on a shelf? Back in the day, it's like, okay, I guess I'm buying Spawn. The back looks pretty weird. This is when they were trying to do those realistic 2D graphics. I forget what it's called exactly. Donkey Kong Country kind of did the same effect. But man, it's just, we'll never go back to these days. We may not even have discs going into the future for very long. Who knows? They're making PS5s that are digital only and stuff like that. It'll be interesting to see if that ever takes hold. Well, look at this. Box Genesis games. Now, the Genesis boxes, in my opinion, aren't as nice because they have two ways of doing it, and you'll see both ways of the box games. Now, this one is a nuts one. Gargoyles for the Genesis, complete in box. And when I filmed this, I didn't realize the map was what made this so expensive. The map or the poster it's inside. But I know the poster is inside. Maybe I'll take a picture and post it on the Facebook. But the poster and the map is inside this game. And it's great condition. And it's pretty awesome stuff. This is a very expensive Genesis game, especially complete in box with the map. I think it's like 300, something like that. I mean, obviously, because it's based on a pretty sweet cartoon, dude. Who didn't like the gargoyles? That's what I want to know. Pretty awesome stuff. And what do we got here? Sonic and Knuckles. But here we're seeing Genesis games had 2 boxes, from what I can tell. They had this weird, like, I don't even know, sleeve design, which is kind of, I don't like this box as much as the plastic one, I'll be honest. Mostly because I don't like the sleeve, but whatever. What do we got here? Sonic 3. Oh yeah, this is back when you could attach Sonic 2 and Sonic 3 to Sonic and Knuckles here and unlock additional content. This is what DLC in the past looked like. You didn't download it. You had to build a tower, and then you would get additional content. Here's X-Men 2 for the Sega Genesis. This looks pretty awesome here. I love that sparkly cover there. X-Men 2 is a great game for the Genesis as well. This is awesome stuff, man. This is when the X-Men were at their prime. The 80s, 90s era of X-Men. Good stuff, good stuff. Magneto, Wolverine with the yellow jumpsuit. All sorts of stuff. What is this? Phantom 2049? Some other superhero. I like the cover, mostly because he's wielding a boomerang. It is just lasering off a robot's head. Never change video game characters. Never change. I don't know if this game's any good. It looks pretty cool. Looks pretty cool. But yeah, here's the second type of box where it was this very plastic case, sort of, and it had a little thing you could hang on top there. Not as impressive, I admit, but it is very different, which is something you got to give the Genesis. Here's BattleTech, the original Genesis case. I mean, this is... They aren't as nice as the cardboard boxes of like the Super Nintendo or the Game Boy Advance, if you ask me. But at the same time, these cases scream Genesis. They're just so gigantic and in your face. Which is everything I want from a Sega Genesis. Or from a Sega anything, honestly. I want that 80s, 90s attitude injected straight into my veins. So now we're going to the PS2. And we'll be flying through this stuff a bit faster. We'll show off some PS2 stuff. But I've shown a lot of PS2 off here on the channel. Bloody Roar 3. I like the Bloody Roar games. Pretty fun fighting games where you kind of transform into different animals. Simpsons Hit and Run. But yeah, I don't want this video getting too long, so we'll fly through some of these a little bit faster. Primal. Battlefront 2, that's a game I really like. Jet Li, Rise to Honor. Twisted Metal Black, yeah, that's a good one right there. People swear by Twisted Metal Black. I regret not having online for the PS2. There's a lot of things. I was pretty good about getting the brand new console. I was very blessed, I should say. My parents were very good about getting me the brand new toy. But I never really played around with the PlayStation 2 online. And I regret that a lot because there seems to be so many cool and interesting online games for the PS2 that I'll never get to play these days. Twisted Metal Black being one of them. Another big one, though, is the Resident Evil Outbreak. Man, if you're someone who played the PS2 online, let me know how glorious it was in the comments because I want to relive those days. If you give me a time machine, I'm going back to when people played PS2 online. Like, there's that Resident Evil Outbreak right now. Multiplayer Resident Evil. That's the whole catch of Resident Evil Outbreak. And it's the classic Resident Evil, top-down perspective with fixed camera angle, kind of like Resident Evil 1 and 2, and 3, I suppose. Except there's multiple characters. You're playing with multiple people. All the characters have their own special abilities or starting item, and you have to get through all these scenarios. It's like kind of like Left 4 Dead, but if it were old school Resident Evil style, where like 2 or 3 zombies is a big deal. You know, you're not gunning down hundreds or anything like that. There's some good PS2 games here. Silent Hill 4, The Room. That's pretty good. But yeah, Battlefront. I think Battlefront 2 was multiplayer on the PS2 as well. There's a lot. There's just a lot of SOCOM. That's another one, actually. SOCOM was PS2. That was a big one. I know a lot of people played. Though I heard recently the original Xbox got some... Oh, well, hold on. Silent Hill Origins. We'll take a look at this one, because I know this is a bit of a rarer one. Or at least expensive. People are looking for that one. Oh, Tenchu games are great. Play the Tenchu series if you like stealth games. But as I was saying, I heard that the original Xbox is having some sort of resurgence with its online. Somehow, some elite hackers have managed to reconstruct its online. So, I guess you can play the original Xbox multiplayer games online now. Stuff like Mech Assault, things like that. Which sounds pretty cool to me. That might be something I need to maybe check out here. I would very much like to play something like Mech Assault or Halo 1 and 2 multiplayer with that original fat Xbox controller. But I don't know if you need a modded original Xbox for that, or if it's only like PCs or through emulation or what. I don't know how all that works. But it sounds pretty cool. It's something I'd like to check out for sure. And we're getting through the last of the PS2 games here. And Xbox One, PS4, PS5. I think I just panned through this stuff here. Yeah, I'm just going to show off kind of what came in. Nothing too crazy standing out here. I mean, some good Wii games there. Mario Kart Wii. Sonic and the Black Knight. Just Dance, for everyone who enjoys the Just Dance games. And we got a bunch of PS3 games, which I know people love the PS3, so I'll definitely I'll fly through this here. And I can't blame them. PS3, the more I think about the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360, the more I realize that they were pretty good systems at the end of the day. I think for a lot of retro gamers, the PS3 and the 360 really mark when gaming was more modern era gaming and not as appealing to our retro desires. But PS3 and the 360, man, I think they did pretty good at the end of the day. I think they did very well. They had pretty long lives too. I mean, the PS3 and the 360 were just having games made for them for like forever, dude. It was a long era. Same with the PS4, I guess. Fear, Call of Duties, a lot of unique games, Lost Planet, Marvel vs. Capcom 3. It's just, like every time I go through a stack of PS3 games, I'm usually pretty impressed by what I see. Just a lot of decent, fun games that are out there. So, I'll have to, maybe I'll have to hook up a PS3 again. I mean, I'm going to start streaming here on the channel here soon. Maybe start up a Twitch or whatever for our YouTube page. So I'll have to give that a shout out once we do get that up and running. And PS3 could be a fun one to look into. Let's get Dead Space, the Ninja Gaiden series. Also really awesome on the PS3. Though I think Ninja Gaiden 1 came out on the original Xbox, I believe. When they did that big return to Ninja Gaiden. That was a great game. The first Ninja Gaiden on the original Xbox. That was an awesome, awesome action game. Really, that whole PS2 original Xbox gave us a lot of good action, action games, I guess. Devil May Cry, God of War, Ninja Gaiden, stuff like that. What else we got here? Angry Birds Star Wars. Oh boy, that's cursed. And we got more stuff. What do I see here? Metal Gear Rising. No, people really like that game. Sort of an action take on the Metal Gear Solid series. Kingdom Hearts 1.5. I don't know. I don't know the Kingdom Hearts games. I know Kingdom Hearts 1 and Kingdom Hearts 2. These other spin-off weird games, I have no idea what they are, what they could be. But I'm sure there's a Kingdom Hearts fan out there who can tell me. Red Dead Redemption was a great PS3 era game, as was Grand Theft Auto 4. Rockstar really did. They also did that detective game. That was also in the PS3 era. Rockstar did a lot of great games for the PS3. Think about it. NBA 2K11, Call of Duty, Black Ops 2. People are still... It's really cool to see that people are still super into Call of Duty games after all this time. Oblivion, that was a fun game. People are always calling and asking about Call of Duty Black Ops 2. I think Black Ops 2 must be the one that everyone's wanting to play here. Because that's the one I get asked about the most, I think. More than any other Call of Duty game. It is probably Black Ops 2 is the one that gets asked for the most. People always want Black Ops 2 on the PS3. And we always manage to just sell out of it instantly. Dragon's Dogma, that's a very fun game. Watch Dogs. Alien vs. Predator. Portal 2. Portal 2 again. And Modern Warfare 2. I believe that's all the PS3 games. And we got some DS games here. I'll show these off. Final Fantasy 3. Oh my god. That's a hard game. I got so far in this game and just got my ass kicked in the final dungeon. And Final Fantasy 3 is brutal because you couldn't really... It wasn't very generous with the save points. So if you went pretty far in a dungeon and you just got killed, well, guess who's doing the whole dungeon again? Me, apparently. Yeah, I'll just show off these original Xbox, these 360 games here. What do we got here? Kill Switch, Midnight Club 2. Midnight Club 2 is awesome. All sorts of stuff, but nothing too crazy. But yeah, that's the video. Thanks for watching. And be sure to check out the rest of the channel. Or if you're here in Maryland, Florida, come check out our store in the Merritt Square Mall. Until next time, guys, take it easy.